She desperately needed money and received an unexpected proposal. A single night beside a millionaire could change her life forever. What started as a financial agreement revealed secrets and emotions she never imagined. In the end, her decision led her to a completely unexpected destiny. Before discovering this surprising story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more emotional tales. Emily watched the pile of bills on the kitchen table, her hands trembling as she held yet another collection notice. The small apartment in the suburbs of Chicago, once a safe haven, now seemed suffocating under the weight of responsibilities. The twins, Peter and Penny, just 8 years old, slept in the room next door, oblivious to the worries consuming their mother night after night. It was past 11 p.m. when the phone rang. Emily hesitated, thinking it might be another debt collector. In recent months, she had become an expert in excuses and promises to pay, but her creativity was running out, just like her hopes. With a deep sigh, she answered. "Ms. Emily Morgan?" The male voice on the other end of the line was deep and confident, with a slight accent she couldn't identify. "Yes, who's speaking?" "My name is Richard Miller. I'm a businessman, and I have a proposal for you." The tone was professional, but there was something more, a note of mystery that captured her attention. Emily sat at the kitchen table, pushing away the bills that tormented her so much. "What kind of proposal?" "One that can solve your immediate financial problems." He made a calculated pause. "I'm aware of your current situation and I believe I can help." Emily's heart raced. How did this stranger know about her difficulties? "Excuse me, but how did you get my information?" "I have my ways, Ms. Morgan. I'm a man who values discretion and efficiency. I propose a meeting, just one night of your company, in exchange for a significant sum, enough to pay off your most urgent debts." The silence that followed was deafening. Emily looked at the dark hallway leading to the children's room. The stranger's words echoed in her mind, mixing with the soft sound of her children's breathing that she could hear even from a distance. "Why me?" Her voice came out weaker than she intended. "Let's say you intrigue me, Emily. A strong woman dedicated to her children, fighting adversity. I admire your persistence, but we all need help eventually." Emily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of each decision that had brought her here. The troubled divorce, losing her job during the pandemic, the frustrated attempts to find professional placement. Her culinary education, once a source of pride, now seemed like a distant dream. "How much?" The word escaped her lips before she could hold it back. "Enough for a fresh start. $100,000 transferred to your account as soon as you accept my proposal." The amount made her choke. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life, more than enough to pay off all debts and still have enough for a new beginning. "And what exactly do you expect in return?" "Just one evening of conversation, dinner, your company. Nothing beyond what you're comfortable offering. I'm a man of principles, Emily. I'm not proposing anything degrading." She looked again at the bills scattered across the table. The overdue rent, school tuition, the loans she had taken to keep the children fed. Each paper was a reminder of her failure to provide the life her children deserved. "I need to think," she murmured, more to herself than to him. "Naturally. Take your time, but not too much." His voice softened. "I have an unavoidable commitment in Dubai next week. The offer is only valid until Friday." 3 days. Emily had 3 days to decide whether to accept the most tempting and frightening proposal of her life. "How can I be sure this isn't some kind of scam?" Richard laughed softly. "A valid concern. I can provide all necessary guarantees. My assistant will contact you tomorrow with the details, should you decide to accept. Think carefully, Emily. Sometimes the most unlikely opportunities are exactly what we need." The call ended, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts and the silence of the night. From the room next door, she heard Penny cough lightly in her sleep. The sound brought her back to reality, reminding her of the reason why she would consider such an unusual proposal. She got up and went to her children's room. In the dim light, she observed their serene faces, oblivious to the worries of the adult world. Peter was hugging the worn teddy bear he had received on his last birthday, while Penny slept with a storybook next to her pillow. Back in the kitchen, Emily picked up her cell phone and typed a message to Julie, her best friend. Since college days, the only person she trusted for sincere advice at that moment. Need to talk. It's urgent. Coffee tomorrow? The answer came almost instantly. Sure, 9 a.m. at the usual place? Emily confirmed the meeting and went back to staring at the bills on the table. Richard's proposal continued to echo in her mind, along with all the possibilities and risks it represented. In a few hours, her life had transformed into a moral dilemma she never imagined facing. Lying in her bed, much later, Emily remained awake, thinking about the mysterious Richard Miller's words. Sleep would not come easily that night, not with so many unanswered questions and such an important decision to make. Tomorrow, after talking with Julie, perhaps things would become clearer, or perhaps they would become even more complex. The coffee shop in downtown Chicago buzzed with the typical bustle of a Tuesday morning. Emily arrived promptly at 9 a.m., finding Julie already settled at a table in the back of the establishment, a spot they had frequented since their culinary school days. "You look terrible," was the first thing Julie said, pushing a cup of extra strong coffee toward her friend. "What happened?" Emily took a deep breath, smelling the familiar aroma of American coffee. Her hands were still shaking slightly when she began to tell about the call from the night before. As the words flowed, she watched Julie's expressions change from concern to disbelief. "You're not actually considering this, are you?" Julie leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Emily, this could be dangerous. How did this man get your information?" "I thought about that too." Emily stirred her coffee distractedly. "But he seemed so professional. He said his assistant would contact me today with more details." As if summoned by the conversation, Emily's cell phone vibrated with a message. It was from an unknown number. "Good morning, Ms. Morgan. I'm Amanda Torres, Mr. Richard Miller's assistant. As agreed, I'm sending you the information for your analysis. Please check your email." Emily immediately opened her email. The email contained detailed documents about Richard Miller, president of a multinational technology company, recognized philanthropist, and a discreet but respected figure in the business world. There was also a confidentiality agreement and the terms of the proposed deal. "Look at this." Emily passed the phone to Julie, who examined the documents with growing amazement. "This guy is real," Julie murmured, scrolling through business magazine articles that mentioned Richard. "But that only makes everything stranger. Why would someone like him need to pay for company?" Emily completed. "I wondered that too." A new customer entered the coffee shop, bringing with them a gust of cold air. Emily instinctively shrank, remembering that she needed to buy new coats for the children before winter. "Remember Clara?" Julie suddenly asked. "Our college classmate who opened that restaurant?" Emily nodded, remembering the former colleague who had managed to realize the dream they all shared during their undergraduate years. "She's looking for an experienced chef for her new project. The salary isn't extraordinary, but it's a start. I could talk to her." "Julie," Emily interrupted gently, "I've already tried that path. I need something immediate. The kids, they need me now." The silence that followed was filled with the buzz of the coffee shop. A waitress passed by, refilling their cups, while Emily contemplated her situation. "If I accept," she began slowly, "it would be just one night to secure my children's future." "And then what?" Julie questioned. "Do you really think it will be just that? Men like him always want more." Before Emily could respond, her phone vibrated again. It was another message from Richard's assistant. "Mr. Miller would like to confirm your decision by 2 p.m. today. If positive, a car will be sent to pick you up at 8 p.m. The address is the Palmer House, penthouse." Emily felt a shiver run down her spine. The reality of the situation was beginning to materialize. "I need to pick up the kids from school," she said, getting up. "Peter has a dentist appointment today." "Emily," Julie held her arm, "whatever your decision, promise me you'll be careful and keep me informed." On the way to school, Emily passed in front of a shop window displaying elegant dresses. Her reflection in the glass showed a 35-year-old woman, still beautiful despite the evident fatigue in her brown eyes. Her black hair, which she used to keep impeccably arranged, was now tied in a careless bun. While waiting at the dentist's office, watching Peter play with the games in the waiting room, Emily typed a response to Richard's assistant. "I accept." The proposal. "Send me the contract details." The response was immediate, including a link to digitally sign the documents. Her hands trembled as she read each clause, each term carefully crafted to protect both parties. In the afternoon, after leaving the children with her mother, Emily opened her wardrobe, facing the few options she had for such a night. At the bottom of a drawer, she found the black dress she had worn at the last Christmas, before the divorce. It still fit, though it was a little tighter than she remembered. At 7:45 p.m., standing in front of the bathroom mirror, Emily barely recognized the woman staring back at her. The black dress, her hair loose in soft waves, the discreet but elegant makeup. She had made an effort to look sophisticated, up to the standard of the environment awaiting her. The doorbell rang punctually at 8 p.m. On the intercom, a polite voice announced, "Good evening, Ms. Morgan, the car is waiting." Emily picked up her purse, checking once more if she had everything she needed: documents, cell phone, the printed contract. Before leaving, she sent a message to Julie. "I'm going. If you don't hear from me by midnight, you know what to do." In the elevator, as she descended the 10 floors of her building, Emily tried to control her breathing and the thoughts racing through her mind. It wasn't just a night that was at stake. It was her dignity, her future, her children's future. The ideal car waiting for her was a black Mercedes-Benz with darkened windows. The driver, a middle-aged man wearing a suit, opened the back door with a discreet reverence. As the car glided through the illuminated streets of Chicago, Emily observed the city through the dark windows, feeling like a character in a surreal film. On her cell phone, a new message flashed. "Looking forward to meeting you in person, Emily. Welcome to the beginning of a new phase in your life. Richard." The Palmer House stood imposingly against the nighttime sky of Chicago, its bold architecture standing out in the urban landscape. Emily felt her stomach turn as the elevator silently ascended toward the penthouse. Each floor that passed seemed to take with it a bit of her courage. When the doors opened, she was greeted by a stunning view of the city. The penthouse was a spacious and elegant area, with large floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of Chicago. In the center of the room, with his back to her, stood a tall man wearing an impeccably tailored suit. "Emily," he turned, revealing a mature but attractive face. His eyes, a deep blue, studied her intensely. "Welcome, I'm Richard Miller." He approached, extending his hand. Emily noticed that his movements were graceful, almost feline, conveying a confidence that only years of power and influence could cultivate. "Good evening, Mr. Miller," she replied, striving to keep her voice steady as she shook his hand. "Please call me Richard," he smiled, a gesture that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Would you like a glass of champagne?" Before she could respond, a waiter materialized beside them, offering a tray with 2 crystal flutes. Emily accepted, grateful for the opportunity to occupy her hands. "You must be wondering why you're here," Richard began, guiding her toward an elegantly set table near the windows. "I confess I am," Emily replied, taking a small sip of champagne to calm her nerves. "Your proposal was unexpected." Richard laughed softly, a sound that seemed genuine. "I believe life is made of unexpected moments, Emily. They are what shape our destiny." He made a gesture, and the waiter reappeared, serving the first appetizer. A delicate arugula salad with caramelized pears and walnuts. "You have a culinary education, don't you?" Richard asked, watching her attentively. Emily nodded, surprised. "Yes, but how—" "I always do my research," he interrupted gently. "Your passion for cooking, your talent, they're admirable qualities." She felt a blush rise up her neck. "Thank you, but that's in the past. Now my priority is my children." "Ah yes, Peter and Penny," Richard commented casually, making Emily stiffen. "Twins, aren't they? It must be challenging raising them alone." The mention of her children's names put her on alert. "Mr. Miller, Richard, I think we need to clarify some things. What exactly do you expect from this evening? Richard put down his cutlery, looking at her with an intensity that made her feel exposed. Honesty. That's what I expect, Emily, and that's what I offer in return. He stood up, walking to the window. The city sparkled below, a carpet of lights, stretching to the horizon. Look at this city, he gestured. Millions of lives, each with its own story, its own struggles. I could have chosen any of them, but I chose you. Emily followed him to the window, feeling the weight of his words. Why? Because I saw something rare in you, Emily. Resilience, determination, a woman who, even facing adversities, hasn't lost her dignity. He turned to face her, his penetrating blue eyes. I'm not here to buy your company or your body. I'm here to offer an opportunity, a chance to start over, to realize your potential. Emily felt her head spin, confused by the unexpected direction of the conversation. I don't understand. I propose a partnership, Richard continued, not just financial, but an exchange of experiences. You have a talent that's dormant, suffocated by circumstances. I have the resources to awaken it. He walked back to the table, picking up an envelope that Emily hadn't noticed before. Inside is a check with the amount I promised. It's yours, regardless of what you decide tonight. Emily took the envelope with trembling hands, hardly believing what she was hearing. And what do you gain from this? Richard smiled, this time a smile that reached his eyes, softening his features. Satisfaction, the chance to make a difference in the life of someone who deserves it. And perhaps a genuine friendship, something rare in my world. The rest of the night passed in a haze of conversation and revelations. Richard shared stories of his own journey, the challenges he faced to build his empire. Emily, in turn, found herself opening up about her abandoned dreams, her daily struggles. When the clock struck midnight, Emily realized that hours had passed without her noticing. The initial tension had dissipated, replaced by a strange sense of connection. It's getting late, Richard observed. The car is waiting to take you home. Emily nodded, standing up. Before leaving, however, she turned to him. And now, what happens after tonight? Richard studied her for a moment before responding. That depends on you, Emily. The money is yours, no obligations. But if you want to explore the possibilities we discussed, my partnership offer remains open. He handed her a card. Think about it. When you're ready, get in touch. In the elevator, descending back to reality, Emily held the envelope and the card as if they were precious and dangerous objects at the same time. The night had been nothing, like she expected, and now she found herself facing a future full of frightening and exciting possibilities. Upon arriving home, she found a message from Julie. Is everything okay? Call me as soon as you can. Emily looked at the phone, at the envelope in her hands, and at Richard's card. Her life had changed irrevocably in the last few hours. Now, she needed to decide what to do with this change. With a deep sigh, she began typing a response to Julie, knowing that the conversation she would have with her friend would be just the beginning of a much longer and more complex journey than she had ever imagined. The sun had barely risen when Emily woke up the next morning, the events of the previous night still vivid in her mind. The envelope with the check rested on the bedside table, a tangible reminder that it hadn't been a dream. She picked it up, checking once more the impressive amount written on it. $100,000. Being careful not to wake the children, Emily headed to the kitchen. As the coffee maker bubbled, she mentally reviewed the conversation with Richard. His words about opportunities and potential echoed in her mind, mixing with Julie's warnings. Her cell phone vibrated with a text message. It was Julie. We need to talk. Lunch today, Emily responded affirmatively, knowing she owed her friend an explanation. While drinking her coffee, she opened her laptop and began researching more about Richard Miller. The results confirmed everything he had said, a successful businessman, known for innovative investments and discreet philanthropy. At 7:30 a.m., the sound of small feet running down the hallway announced that Peter and Penny were awake. Emily took a deep breath, putting a smile on her face. For now, she would keep the changes in her life away from the innocent eyes of her children. Mom, can I take Rufus to school today? Peter asked, referring to his inseparable teddy bear. "Of course, sweetie," Emily replied, preparing breakfast. "Penny, don't forget you have swimming class today." The morning routine proceeded as always: breakfast, brushing teeth, combing hair. But for Emily, each moment seemed charged with new meaning. She observed her children with a mixture of love and renewed determination. After dropping the children at school, Emily headed to the bank. With slightly trembling hands, she deposited the check. Seeing her account balance change so drastically was surreal. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of debts dissipate. At noon, she met Julie at the same cafe as the day before. Her friend was waiting with a barely disguised expression of anxiety. "So," Julie asked as soon as Emily sat down, "how was it?" Emily took a deep breath before responding. "It wasn't anything like I expected, Jules." In the following minutes, Emily recounted the events of the previous night, watching Julie's expressions oscillate between relief and skepticism. "He really didn't ask for anything in return?" Julie questioned, incredulous. "Nothing beyond an honest conversation," Emily confirmed, "and a proposal for a professional partnership." Julie frowned. "This seems too good to be true, Em. What's the catch?" Emily stirred her coffee, thoughtful. "Honestly, I don't know, but for the first time in a long time I feel like I have options." "And what are you going to do now?" The question hung between them, laden with possibilities. Emily looked out the cafe window, observing the movement of the city. "First, I'm going to pay off all the debts," she began, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders just from saying it out loud. "Then, I think I'll consider Richard's proposal." Julie leaned forward, concerned. "Are you sure? Don't you think it's better to look for other opportunities first?" Emily smiled, understanding her friend's concern. "I'll take it slowly, Jules, I promise, but I can't deny that this chance made me remember dreams I had forgotten." After lunch, Emily walked through downtown, her mind buzzing with ideas. She passed in front of a kitchenware store and stopped, observing the gleaming pans and modern appliances in the window. For a moment, she imagined herself using that equipment, creating elaborate dishes like in her college days. Back at the High's apartment, Emily opened the kitchen cabinet. At the bottom, she found an old notebook, the pages yellowed with time. It was her old recipe book, where she used to note down ideas and culinary experiments. She flipped through the pages fondly, remembering the passion she once felt for gastronomy. Decided, she picked up the phone and the card Richard had given her. After a few seconds of hesitation, she dialed the number. "Richard Miller's office, good afternoon," the professional voice of Amanda, the assistant, answered. "Hi, this is Emily Morgan. I'd like to speak with Mr. Miller, please." There was a brief pause before Richard's voice sounded on the phone. "Emily, it's good to hear your voice. I hope you slept well." "Mr. Miller, Richard," Emily began, feeling her heart race. "I would like to know more about your partnership proposal." She could almost hear the smile in his voice when he replied, "Excellent. How about we meet tomorrow to discuss the details? I know a perfect restaurant for the occasion." They agreed on the time and place. Upon hanging up, Emily felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She was about to embark on an unknown journey, but for the first time in years she felt truly hopeful. That night, as she put Peter and Penny to bed, Emily observed them with a new perspective. "Mommy loves you very much," she whispered, adjusting the covers. "And I promise I'll do my best to give you the future you deserve." Lying in her own bed, Emily picked up the old recipe book again. With a pencil, she began making notes in the margins, fresh ideas emerging in her mind. She fell asleep with the notebook on her chest, dreaming of professional kitchens and elaborate dishes. The next day promised to be the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Emily knew there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long time she felt ready to face them. The fear was still there, but now it was accompanied by something stronger: hope. The restaurant chosen by Richard was an elegant establishment in the Gold Coast neighborhood, known for its contemporary cuisine. Emily arrived a few minutes before the scheduled time, feeling strangely nervous. She wore a pants and blazer ensemble she had bought the day before, a small indulgence she allowed herself after years of saving every penny. Richard was already waiting, rising gentlemanly when She approached the table. "Emily, you look stunning," he commented, pulling out the chair for her. "Thank you," she replied, trying to hide her discomfort with the compliment. "This place is amazing." "Wait until you taste the food," Richard smiled, gesturing to the waiter. "The chef here is an old friend of mine. I think you'll enjoy meeting him afterwards." As they examined the menu, Richard began to talk about his proposal. "Emily, what I have in mind is more than a simple financial investment. I want to create a partnership that allows you to develop your full culinary potential." Emily looked at him, intrigued. How exactly would that work? "Imagine a fully equipped space, a high-performance kitchen where you can experiment, create, and develop your ideas," Richard explained, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "A place where you can not only cook but also teach, share your knowledge." The idea was tempting, almost irresistible. Emily felt a tingling of excitement she hadn't experienced in years. "It sounds like a dream," she admitted. "But why me? There must be much more experienced and renowned chefs out there." Richard leaned forward, his gaze intense. "Because I see something rare in you, Emily. Passion combined with resilience. You've faced challenges that would have broken many people. But here you are, still standing, still dreaming." The waiter arrived with the dishes Richard had ordered, a selection of appetizers that were true culinary works of art. Emily tasted each one carefully, her trained palate identifying flavors and techniques. "This is amazing," she murmured, savoring a lobster ravioli with saffron sauce. "See?" Richard smiled. "It's that sparkle in your eyes that I want to see every day. Food is more than sustenance, Emily. It's art, it's passion, it's life." As they continued the meal, they discussed the practical details of the project. Richard talked about potential locations for the space, necessary equipment, and possible partnerships with local producers. "I want you to have complete creative freedom," he emphasized. "My role will be to provide the resources and structure. The rest depends on you." Emily felt a mixture of excitement and fear. "It's an incredible opportunity, Richard. But I have to think about my children. I can't commit to something that takes me away from them." Richard nodded understandingly. "I completely understand. In fact, I thought about that too." He paused, taking a sip of wine. "The space I have in mind includes a small apartment upstairs. You and the children could live there, at least initially. That way you would always be close to them." The proposal was too tempting to ignore. Emily felt tears forming in the corners of her eyes. "This is very generous. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Richard responded. Softly, "just make it worthwhile. Turn this dream into reality." After dessert, a chocolate creation that left Emily amazed, Richard introduced her to the chef, a young and enthusiastic man named Andrew. "Emily was my inspiration in culinary school," Andrew revealed, to her surprise. "Your recipes in the university newspaper were legendary." Embarrassed but secretly proud, Emily exchanged ideas with Andrew for a few minutes, feeling once again part of that world she loved so much. Upon leaving the restaurant, Emily felt light, almost floating. Richard accompanied her to the car that was waiting. "Think carefully," he said. "Talk to your children, to your friend Julie. When you're ready, let me know. We'll start whenever you want." That night, at home, Emily sat down with Peter and Penny for a serious conversation. "Kids, Mum might have a very special job opportunity," she began, carefully observing their reactions. "But that would mean some changes for us." To her surprise, the children reacted with enthusiasm. "Are you going to cook again, Mom?" Peter asked, excited. "Your food is the best." "Can we help?" Penny added, her eyes gleaming. With a heart full of love and gratitude, Emily hugged her children. "Of course you can, my loves. We'll do this together." Later, after putting the children to bed, Emily called Julie. "So?" her friend asked anxiously. "How was it?" Emily took a deep breath before responding. "It was incredible, Jules. I think I'm going to accept." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. "Are you sure about this, Em? Isn't it too fast?" "Maybe it is," Emily admitted. "But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm on the right path. I'm scared, of course, but I'm also so hopeful." Julie sighed. Well, you know I'll be here for whatever you need, right? If it works out, great. If not, well, we'll face it together. Grateful for the unconditional friendship, Emily hung up the phone feeling at peace with her decision. She picked up her old recipe book again and began making notes, ideas flowing freely. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time it was bright. Emily fell asleep, dreaming of new flavors, aromas, and possibilities, eager for the chapter that was about to begin in her life. The weeks following Emily's decision passed in a whirlwind of activities. Richard kept his word, working tirelessly to transform the vision into reality. An old mansion in the Lincoln Park neighborhood was chosen as the ideal location for the project. The three-story building had character and charm, with enough space to house a professional kitchen on the ground floor, a space for classes and events on the second floor, and a comfortable apartment for Emily and the children on the top floor. Emily watched in wonder as renovation teams transformed the space. Walls were torn down, state-of-the-art equipment was installed, and every detail was carefully planned to create an environment that was both functional and inspiring. "What do you think?" Richard asked, finding Emily standing in the middle of the nearly finished kitchen, her eyes scanning each detail with admiration. "It's more than I could have dreamed of," she replied, moved. Her hands caressed the marble countertop, feeling the cold, smooth texture under her fingers. "I still can't believe this is real." Richard smiled, satisfied. "Believe it, Emily, this is just the beginning." As the opening date approached, Emily found herself immersed in a whirlwind of preparations. Besides supervising the final details of the renovation, she spent hours developing the menu and planning the classes she would offer. One afternoon, while testing recipes in the new kitchen, Emily received a surprise visit from Julie. "Wow," Julie exclaimed, looking around impressed. "This is amazing, Em." Emily smiled, offering her friend a spoon with sauce to taste. "What do you think?" Julie closed her eyes as she savored it. "Divine. Seriously, you've always been talented, but this is on another level." "Thank you, Jules," Emily replied, feeling genuinely happy and fulfilled. "You know, I had forgotten how much I love doing this, creating, experimenting, surprising." Julie observed her friend with a mixture of admiration and concern. "You seem different, Em, lighter, more you." Emily nodded, understanding. "I feel that way, as if I'm finally on the right path, you know." "And the kids? How are they handling all this?" Emily's smile widened. "Incredibly well. Peter is fascinated with all the equipment, wants to know how everything works. And Penny, well, I think we have a future chef at home. She's already creating her own recipes." The two laughed, imagining the culinary creations of an 8-year-old child. "And Richard?" Julie asked, her tone cautious. "How have things been with him?" Emily paused for a moment, considering. "Honestly, he's been amazing. Professional, respectful, always willing to help. But also, there are moments when I catch him watching me in a way." "What way?" Julie pressed, raising an eyebrow. Emily felt her cheeks warm. "I can't explain it. It's as if he sees something in me that even I don't see yet." Julie hugged her friend. "Just be careful, okay? I don't want to see you get hurt." On the eve of the opening, Emily was standing in the empty kitchen, absorbing the silence before the storm that would be the next day. Richard entered silently, observing her for a moment before speaking. "Nervous?" he asked softly. Emily turned, smiling nervously. Terrified and excited, is it possible to feel both at the same time? Richard laughed, approaching. "Not only is it possible, but it's perfectly normal. Emily, you're about to realize a dream. It's natural to feel fear." He took her hands, looking into her eyes. "But I want you to know something. You are more than prepared for this. Your talent, your passion, your dedication. I have no doubt that you will shine." Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of gratitude and something more that she wasn't ready to name yet. "Thank you, Richard, for everything. I don't know how I'll repay." "Repay by being extraordinary," he replied simply. "That's all I ask." On the morning of the opening, Emily woke up before dawn. She prepared a hearty coffee and went down to the kitchen, determined to have everything perfect for the big day. The hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Suppliers arrived with fresh ingredients. The hired staff familiarized themselves with the space, and Emily coordinated everything with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. At 6 p.m. sharp, the doors opened. The space quickly filled with guests. Food critics, renowned chefs, journalists, and culinary enthusiasts. Emily watched from the kitchen, her heart beating rapidly. "It's time," Richard said softly, appearing at her side. "Are you ready?" Emily took a deep breath, adjusting her apron. "I am." As she left the kitchen to greet the guests, Emily felt as if she were entering a new chapter of her life. The bright lights, the buzz of animated conversations, the tempting aroma of the dishes she had prepared, everything seemed surreal and wonderful at the same time. While circulating among the guests, answering questions and receiving compliments, Emily caught Richard's gaze from across the room. He raised his glass in a silent toast, his smile full of pride and something more, something that made Emily's heart skip a beat. The future was uncertain, but at that moment, surrounded by her realized passion and people who believed in her, Emily knew she was exactly where she should be. A new journey was beginning, and she could hardly wait to see where it would lead her. The months following the opening were an emotional and challenging roller coaster for Emily. Flavor and Art, the name she had chosen for her culinary space, quickly gained a reputation in Chicago's gastronomic scene. The cooking classes were always full, and the tasting nights became a sought-after event among food lovers. However, success also brought its difficulties. Emily found herself constantly divided between the demands of the business and the needs of her children. Although Peter and Penny were adapting well to the new life, they loved the apartment above the restaurant and frequently helped in the kitchen, Emily felt the familiar guilt of every working mother infiltrate her moments of doubt. One night, after a particularly stressful event, Emily found Richard waiting for her in the empty kitchen. "Are you okay?" he asked, noticing her tired expression. Emily sighed, letting herself fall into a nearby chair. "Honestly, I don't know. Everything is going so well, but at the same time..." "You feel overwhelmed," Richard completed gently. She nodded, feeling tears form. "It's everything I ever dreamed of, Richard. But sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing for my children, if I'm not being selfish in pursuing this dream." Richard approached, kneeling to be at eye level with her. "Emily, look at me. You're not being selfish. You're showing your children what it means to follow a passion, work hard, and achieve your goals. That's an invaluable lesson." His words touched Emily deeply. She looked at him, seeing in those blue eyes an understanding and support that left her breathless. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I would do without you." The moment was interrupted by the sound of footsteps coming down the stairs. Peter appeared at the kitchen door, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Mom? I can't sleep," he murmured. Emily immediately stood up, giving Richard an apologetic look before addressing her son. "Let's go, sweetie. How about a cup of warm milk?" As she prepared the drink for Peter, Emily noticed Richard observing the scene with a soft smile. There was something in his look, a mixture of admiration and something deeper, that made her heart race. In the days that followed, Emily strove to find a better balance between work and family. With Julie's help, who had started assisting, in the administration of Flavor and Art, she managed to reorganize her schedules to spend more time with the children. One afternoon, while experimenting with a new recipe, Emily was surprised by an unexpected visit. Andrew, the chef she had met at the restaurant with Richard, entered the kitchen with an enthusiastic smile. "Emily, I hope I'm not interrupting," he said, looking around admiringly. "This place is incredible." "Andrew, what a nice surprise," Emily replied, genuinely happy to see him. "Would you like to taste what I'm making?" As they sampled the new dish, Andrew shared exciting news. He was planning a food festival and wanted Emily to participate as one of the invited chefs. "It would be an honor to have you there," he said, his eyes gleaming with admiration. "Your work here has been inspiring." Emily felt a wave of pride and gratitude. I would love to participate, Andrew. Thank you for the invitation. After Andrew left, Emily found herself reflecting on how much her life had changed in such a short time. From a single mother struggling to survive, she had become a respected chef, owner of her own business. The transformation was almost hard to believe. That night, during dinner with the children, Emily observed how Peter and Penny talked animatedly about their day at school. Their eyes sparkled with a happiness she hadn't seen in a long time. "Mum," Penny said suddenly, "can I help you create a new dish tomorrow? I had a super cool idea." Emily smiled, feeling her heart fill with love. "Of course you can, my love. I can't wait to see what you'll come up with." Later, after putting the children to bed, Emily went up to the building's terrace. The night was clear, and the lights of Chicago twinkled in the distance. Lost in thought, she didn't notice Richard's approach. "A penny for your thoughts," he said softly, making her turn. Emily smiled, feeling that familiar wave of warmth that his presence always provoked. "I was thinking about how life can change so quickly. A few months ago, I could barely see a way out, and now you're a successful chef, a businesswoman, an amazing mother," Richard completed, coming closer. "You are extraordinary, Emily." There was an intensity in his gaze that made Emily's heart leap. For a moment, the air between them seemed charged with unspoken possibilities. "Richard, Emily began, but was interrupted by the sound of her cell phone. It was Julie, calling to confirm details of an event for the next day. When she hung up, the moment had passed, but something had changed. Emily could feel it, and she knew Richard felt it too. "I think I should go," he said softly. "Tomorrow will be a big day." Emily nodded, watching him walk away. She stayed there for a few more minutes, contemplating the city and the new emotions bubbling in her chest. The future was still uncertain, but Emily was beginning to realize that perhaps, just perhaps, it could include more than just professional success. With a light heart and a mind full of possibilities, she returned to her apartment, eager for what the new day would bring. The food festival mentioned by Andrew was approaching rapidly, and Emily found herself immersed in frantic preparations. Determined to impress, she spent hours in the kitchen of Flavor and Art, experimenting with flavor combinations and innovative techniques. The event would be a unique opportunity to establish herself even more firmly in Chicago's culinary scene. One afternoon, while testing a new recipe for ravioli with goat cheese and truffle honey filling, Emily was surprised by an unexpected visit. Marianne, her ex-sister-in-law, and her ex-husband's sister entered the kitchen with a tense expression on her face. "Emily, we need to talk," Marianne said, her tone urgent. Alarmed by the seriousness in Marianne's voice, Emily asked Julie to take over the kitchen for a moment and led her ex-sister-in-law to her office on the second floor. "What happened, Marie?" Emily asked, offering a chair to the visitor. Marianne hesitated for a moment before speaking. "It's about Richard Miller. Emily, you need to be careful with him." Emily felt a chill down her spine. "What are you talking about?" "I work at the law firm that used to represent his company," Marianne explained. "I heard things, rumors about how he does business, about his past." "What kind of rumors?" Emily pressed, her heart racing. Marianne looked uncomfortable. "They say he doesn't hesitate to use questionable methods to get what he wants, that he's ruined several business partners, and there are rumors about previous relationships that ended mysteriously." Emily felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. The image she had of Richard, kind, generous, supportive, seemed incompatible with what Marianne was implying. "Why are you telling me this now?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "Because I care about you and the children," Marianne responded sincerely. "I've seen how your business has taken off, how happy you seem, but I fear you're getting involved with someone dangerous." Emily thanked Marianne for the information, promising to be careful. After her ex-sister-in-law left, she remained in her office, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. That night, unable to sleep, Emily revisited every interaction she had had with Richard over the past few months. Was there something she hadn't noticed? Any sign that he wasn't who he seemed to be? The next day dawned grey, reflecting Emily's state of mind. She moved around the kitchen of Flavor and Art mechanically, her mind still trapped in the conversation with Marianne. "Is everything okay?" Julie asked, noticing her friend's distant behavior. Emily hesitated for a moment before sharing what she had discovered. Julie listened carefully, her face a mixture of concern and skepticism. You need to confront him," Julie said finally. "If you're going to continue this partnership, you need to know the truth." Emily knew her friend was right, but the idea of confronting Richard terrified her. What if it was all true? What if the man in whom she had begun to trust, for whom she was developing deeper feelings, was a fraud? The opportunity for confrontation came sooner than she expected. That same afternoon, Richard appeared at Flavor and Art, his usual smile on his face. "Emily, I have great news about a new expansion opportunity," he began, but stopped when he noticed her serious expression. "What's wrong?" Emily took a deep breath. "Richard, we need to talk, in private." She guided him to her office, closing the door behind them. For a moment they stood in silence, the air heavy with unspoken tension. "I received a visit yesterday," Emily began, her voice trembling slightly. "Someone told me disturbing things about you." Richard frowned. "What kind of things?" Emily then poured out everything Marianne had told her, the rumors about shady business, ruined partners, mysterious relationships. As she spoke, she carefully observed Richard's reactions. To her surprise, he didn't immediately deny it. Instead, a look of deep sadness passed over his face. "Emily," he finally said, his voice laden with emotion, "there is truth in those rumors. But it's not the whole story." In the minutes that followed, Richard revealed parts of his past that he had never shared before. He spoke about mistakes he had made early in his career, decisions he deeply regretted. He explained how these choices had haunted him, fueling rumors and distorting his reputation. "In recent years, I have been striving to correct these mistakes," he said, his eyes fixed on Emily's. "To be a better person. Your project, Emily, was part of that. A chance to use my resources for something genuinely good." Emily listened, her heart divided between compassion and caution. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Richard sighed. "I was afraid. Afraid that if you knew about my past, you would reject me. And I didn't want to lose you." The vulnerability in his voice touched Emily deeply. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the genuine regret. "Richard, she began, but was interrupted by the sound of her cell phone. It was Andrew, calling to confirm the final details of the festival. When she hung up, the moment of intimacy had passed, but something fundamental had changed between them. Emily knew she would need time to process everything she had heard, to decide if she could really trust Richard. "I need time," she said softly, "to think about all this." Richard nodded, understanding. "I understand. I only ask that you judge me by the man I am now, not by who I was in the past." He rose to leave, pausing at the door for a moment. "Emily, regardless of what you decide, I want you to know my feelings for you are real, more real than anything I've ever felt." With those words, he departed, leaving Emily alone with her turbulent thoughts. She remained in her office for a long time, contemplating the uncertain future that opened before her. The food festival was just days away, and Emily knew she would need all her strength and focus to face it. But now, beyond the culinary challenges, she faced an even more crucial decision. Could she trust Richard again? And if she could, what would that mean for her future and that of her children? With a deep sigh, Emily stood up. Regardless of what the future held, she knew she had to be strong. For her children, for her dream, and perhaps, just perhaps, for a chance at love she never expected to find. The days leading up to the food festival passed in a blur of frantic preparations and conflicting emotions for Emily. While she dedicated herself to the final adjustments to her dishes, her mind continued to return to the revealing conversation with Richard. The trust they had built now seemed to be on unstable ground, and Emily found herself divided between her heart and her reason. On the eve of the festival, Flavor and Art bustled with activity. Emily coordinated her team with precision, ensuring that every detail was perfect. Peter and Penny, excited by the hustle, insisted on helping, which mainly meant tasting every dish that came out of the kitchen. "Mum, this sauce is amazing," Peter exclaimed, licking his fingers after trying the berry sauce that would accompany the dessert. Emily smiled, grateful for the momentary distraction the children provided. "Thank you, sweetie. Now, how about you two go get your things ready? Grandma will be here soon to stay with you while I'm at the festival." As the children went up to the apartment, Julie approached Emily, a concerned expression on her face. "Are you sure you're ready for this? With everything that's happened?" Emily took a deep breath, adjusting her apron. "I have to be, Jules. This festival is too important to let personal issues interfere." Julie nodded, understanding. "And what about Richard? Will he show up?" "I don't know," Emily admitted. "We haven't spoken since that day." At that moment, as if summoned by the conversation, Emily's cell phone vibrated with a message from Richard. "Good luck at the festival. I know you'll shine. I'll be rooting for you, even if from afar." Emily stared at the screen for a long moment, a whirlwind of emotions in her chest. Part of her wanted to respond, to thank him, perhaps even to ask him to come. But another part, the cautious part that had grown after years of disappointments, stopped her. The morning of the festival dawned sunny, as if the sky itself wanted to celebrate Chicago's gastronomy. Emily arrived early at the event venue, a spacious area in Grant Park, transformed into a gourmet paradise. As she set up her stand, Emily couldn't help but notice the presence of several renowned chefs. Andrew passed by her, offering an encouraging smile. "Ready to impress Chicago?" he asked, giving a wink. Emily smiled back, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. "As ready as I can be." The doors opened to the public, and soon the festival was packed. Emily's stand quickly became one of the most popular, with lines forming to try her creations. Her main dish, a goat cheese ravioli with truffle honey and port wine reduction, was being acclaimed as one of the stars of the event. In the middle of the afternoon, while Emily prepared another round of tastings, she spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Her heart leaped as she recognized Richard, standing discreetly a few meters away. Their gazes crossed for a moment, laden with unspoken emotions. Before she could decide whether to approach him, Emily was surprised by the arrival of a group of journalists and food critics. Among them was Rebecca Vanzetti, one of the most respected and feared critics in Chicago. "So this is the famous Emily from Flavor and Art," Rebecca commented, her critical gaze scanning the stand. "Let's see if your food lives up to the buzz." Emily felt a chill in her stomach, but maintained her composure. With steady hands, she prepared a sample of each of her dishes for the group. She anxiously watched as they tasted, their impassive faces revealing nothing. After what seemed like an eternity, Rebecca finally spoke. "Impressive, Emily. There's a sophistication in your dishes that I didn't expect from someone relatively new to the scene, particularly the ravioli. It's a bold combination that really works." Rebecca's praise was like music to Emily's ears. She thanked her, feeling a wave of pride and relief. As the day progressed, Emily's success at the festival became undeniable. Established chefs came to congratulate her, praising her creativity and technique. Representatives from renowned restaurants left cards, interested in possible collaborations. At the end of the day, exhausted but radiant, Emily began to dismantle her stand. That was when Richard finally approached. "Congratulations," he said softly. "You were amazing today." Emily looked at him, feeling her heart race. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure if you would." Richard gave a small smile. "I wouldn't miss this for anything. Seeing you shine, Emily, it's all I wanted." There was a moment of silence between them, laden with unspoken words and conflicting feelings. "Richard, Emily, They both spoke at the same time, then laughed nervously. "You first," Emily said. Richard took a deep breath. "Emily, I know things got complicated between us, but seeing you today, realizing your dream, I realized I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you. If you give me a chance, I'd like to try to fix things, to be the man you deserve." Emily felt tears forming in her eyes. The sincerity in Richard's voice was palpable. "I don't want to lose this either, Richard," she admitted softly. "But I need to be sure. For my children, for myself, I need to know I can trust you completely." Richard nodded, understanding. "I understand. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to regain your trust, one day at a time." At that moment, Julie appeared, loaded with equipment. She cast a curious look between Emily and Richard, but didn't comment. "Let's go, superstar," Julie joked. "The kids are eager to hear how it went." Emily smiled at her friend, grateful for her constant presence. Turning to Richard, she said, "We need to talk more, but not today. Today, I need to celebrate with my children." Richard agreed, his gaze full of understanding and something more a hope. As Emily left the festival, her heart was light. The day had been a triumph in more ways than one. Professionally, she had established herself as a force to be recognized in Chicago's gastronomic scene. Personally, she had taken the first step to, perhaps, opening her heart again. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Emily faced it with optimism. With her children, her culinary talent, and, who knows, a new love, she was ready to face any challenge that came her way. Arriving home, where Peter and Penny anxiously awaited news and, of course, leftovers from the festival, Emily felt a sense of fullness. Her journey was far from over, but each step brought her closer to her dreams. A year passed since the food festival that marked the turning point in Emily's career. Flavor and Art had become one of the hottest gastronomic spots in Chicago, with reservations made months in advance. Emily's fame as an innovative and talented chef spread beyond the city's borders, attracting national and even international attention. On a sunny Saturday morning, Emily found herself in the kitchen of Flavor and Art preparing a special breakfast. Peter and Penny, now 9 years old, helped enthusiastically, their small hands skillful for their age. "Mom, can I make the caramel sauce for the pancakes?" Peter asked, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Emily smiled, remembering how her son had inherited her passion for cooking. "Of course, sweetie. Remember to be careful with the fire." Penny, meanwhile, was focused on setting the table, placing each utensil and plate with almost comical precision. "It has to be perfect," she murmured to herself. The sound of the doorbell interrupted the preparations. Emily exchanged a knowing look with the children before going to answer. Richard was standing at the door, a bouquet of wildflowers in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. His smile was warm and a little nervous. "Good morning," he said softly. "I hope I'm not too early." Emily smiled back, feeling the familiar butterflies in her stomach. "You're right on time. Come in." The past few months had been a journey of rediscovery for Emily and Richard. After the festival, they agreed to start over slowly, rebuilding trust step by step. Richard opened up completely, sharing details of his past and showing Emily day by day that he had truly changed. To Emily's surprise, it was the children who most quickly became fond of Richard. He had a special way with them, always patient and interested in their stories and crazy ideas. "Uncle Richard!" Peter and Penny shouted in unison upon seeing him enter the kitchen. Richard laughed, bending down to hug them. "Hey, little chefs! What do we have for breakfast today?" As the children animatedly detailed the menu, Emily observed the scene with a full heart. It was hard to believe how much her life had changed in such a short time. Breakfast transpired in an atmosphere of joy and intimacy. Between laughs and stories, Emily couldn't help but notice the loving glances Richard cast in her direction. She knew her own eyes probably reflected the same feeling. After the meal, as the children ran to prepare for a walk in the park, Emily and Richard were left alone in the kitchen. "So," Richard began, helping her clear the table, "have you thought about that proposal?" Emily nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The proposal in question was an opportunity to expand Flavor and Art, opening a branch in a historic town outside Chicago. "I've thought a lot," she replied. "It's a big step, Richard. It means more responsibilities, more time away from the children." Richard approached, taking her hands in his. "I understand your fears, Emily, but I also know what you're capable of. This expansion can be amazing not just for the business, but for you as a chef and entrepreneur." Emily smiled, grateful for his constant support. "You're right, and I think I'm ready for this challenge." Richard's eyes gleamed with pride. "I knew you would be, and I want you to know that I'll be by your side every step of the way. If you want me, of course." Emily's heart raced with the implication of his words. In recent months, their relationship had slowly blossomed, evolving from a close friendship into something deeper. But both had been cautious, aware of the past and Emily's responsibilities as a mother. "Richard," Emily began, her voice soft, "you've become such an important part of my life, of our lives. I can't imagine taking this next step without you." Richard's smile illuminated the entire kitchen. Slowly, he leaned in, his lips meeting Emily's in a gentle kiss full of promises. The moment was interrupted by giggles coming from the kitchen door. Peter and Penny were watching them with expressions that were a mixture of yuck and joy. "Finally," Penny exclaimed, making the adults laugh. The rest of the day was spent in the park, the four of them enjoying the sun and each other's company. As she watched Richard play with the children, Emily felt a wave of gratitude for everything life had given her. At night, after the children were asleep, Emily and Richard sat on the apartment's balcony, admiring the city lights. "You know," Emily began, her voice full of emotion, "a year ago I could barely imagine a future. I was drowning in debt, desperate." Richard gently squeezed her hand, encouraging her to continue. "And now," she continued, "I have a successful business. My children are happy, and I have you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true." Richard smiled, his eyes reflecting the love he felt. "It's not too good, Emily. It's exactly what you deserve. Your talent, your strength, your heart. You've earned all of this." Emily felt tears of happiness forming in her eyes. "Thank you for believing in me, Richard, for giving me the chance to believe in myself again." They kissed under the starry sky of Chicago, the future opening before them like a blank recipe book, ready to be filled with new flavors, experiences, and love. As Emily nestled in Richard's arms, she knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, the business expansion, the ups and downs of life, she would face them with courage and passion, because now she had all the ingredients for a full and happy life: her family, her talent, and a love that had arrived unexpectedly, but had proven to be the perfect seasoning for her new recipe for life. Dear listeners, we hope that Emily's journey has touched and inspired you. To continue exploring equally captivating stories, we've prepared a special playlist with narratives that will warm your heart. Find it by clicking on the link to the left. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like on the video. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of life and love. Don't miss our upcoming content. We're eager to read your comments and know what you thought of Emily's transformation. Until next time.